Gamers, this is going to be emergency, urgency, emergency tier list. It is so urgent, I had to make it because I'm traveling soon to South Africa.
Can you guys hear me? This is my last transmission.
I needed to let you guys know what's good and why you're losing games, because your Civ sucks, obviously. But, of course, that's a joke. Disclaimer, this Civ tier list is, in my opinion, for tippity top level only. You're not losing the games because of I put your Civ in C tier. It's probably because you suck. That being said, let's get into it. The worst Civ! IMO. Now, I am talking about land maps, mostly normal maps. Some of these civs have their play in tournaments in some of the different kinds of maps, but nothing has changed. The worst civ, in my opinion, at the top level is going to be OOTD, which is a shame, because again, I really love playing OOTD. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just not very good, sadly. So I'm gonna have to put it in D tier. Now OTD is actually great on water maps and is still played in tournaments on water maps because they have really good economy for, you know, with the chapel and the woodline and everything, but kind of shite. The next one we'll be talking about, I have my tier list from the previous time over here, so I kind of want to see where I'm at and what I agree with or disagree with. It's gonna be Ottoman and it's gonna be Mongol. So, I haven't really changed my opinion about these. The last Civ tier list I made was in November. And I played some Ottoman. I've played against Ottoman. I've played with Mongol. I've played against Mongol. And they just have a lot of rough matchups. And they're just both struggling quite a bit right now. And I would even consider putting Mongol even lower, perhaps. Like, I think Mongol is in such a bad state. Like, I do think in tournaments it has some play, but if we're talking like pure land maps, like if we're talking like Dry Arabia or like, you know, Lipany, I would even consider putting Mongol in D tier. Yeah, that's how bad I think it is. It has some play on some of the maps, especially on the hybrid maps, but overall, it's just the economy is really bad. I feel like whenever I play Mongol or against it, it's like nothing happens, we're fighting, we leave the game, we played like, you know, 15, 16, 17 minutes, and then the non-Mongol player is like 5,000 resources ahead. Their economy is just bad. So, yeah, I think a lot of ways that they can buff Mongol. I think maybe giving it more passive stone on Uvu would be good, or passive income on stone, so that you can maybe get eco upgrades with it, or get more units. I don't know, but yeah, it ain't good. The next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be French and JD. I don't think they've changed their position. I think both of those, they are pretty decent, but that is about it. I think that, you know, I have the same opinion regarding why they're B tier, like I put them in the last time. There's going to be some changes, by the way, for the top tier civs, just so you guys know. I think the reason why they're here is because many of the top civs are really good against these two civs, and that's kind of where the problem lies. Where it's like, I used to think that I think that French and JD used to counter Delhi, but I'm not so sure these days. I don't know if it's because of the patches or what, but I think Delhi is pretty decent into French and JD. Then you have Abbasid, HRE, Biz, Ayubid, all those civs are very good into French or Biz. So they're okay, but that's kind of as far as they go. They're okay. The next civilization for the land maps is going to be Japanese. It's going to remain in B tier. Now, I do want to say Japanese is one of the best civs for tournaments or for non-ladder maps, I guess I would say, because it has a lot of play and it gets picked very often, very quick when people do the drafting in tournaments. And the reason for that is you can, you know, play it on so many of the hybrid or so many of the water maps. Like if you're playing ladder, for example, I would say Japanese is probably like an S tier civ on Four Lakes, S tier civ on Nagari. It's pretty, I would say it's probably like an A tier on Himayama because they can get fishing boats a little bit cheaper and it's, you know, works out well for them. But then some of the other maps, they're just not that good. But if we had like more water maps, or if more people played water maps, I think Japanese would potentially be a lot better. But in tournaments, we always have hybrid maps or water maps, and that's where Japanese is played quite often. And Shinobi on those kinds of maps are very, very good. It's very nice. Next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be, last time I made A and A plus tier. Am I gonna make it this time? I don't know. We might. I'm going to be putting a civ called Malayans into A tier. Now, I was even considering putting Malayans a bit lower, because I just don't think they have quite the punch as some of the other civs. I feel like while the cow boom is cool and all, I think a lot of the other civs have a lot of ways around it, especially because players just learn how to play against Malian a lot better. Not to say Malian is a bad civ, it's far from it, but it's just not, you know, whenever someone plays Malian, you're not like, oh man, I'm dead, right? So, yeah. Now, we are going to make A plus tier, actually. One of the civs that is going down a tier, the first change we're having on this tier list, is going to be, chat, guess, which civ is going from A plus to A? Fix the color. There you go, just to trigger you. It is going to be English. I would even consider putting English into A minus. I've played quite a bit of English since the, since last month, and it just doesn't feel good. So for those that don't know, in the past month or so, there's been a big development with Pro Scouts, like big development with Pro Scouts. And a lot of civs are now going Pro Scouts, and if they're not going Pro Scouts, a lot of civs are going Fast Castle. And English 2TC is very slow. It's like one of, if not the slow, maybe OTD is slower, and Mongol, but English 2TC is very slow. It takes a while for you to reach castle, or, to boom up, right? And the other civ can do whatever they want. They can pick up the relics, they can, take this, take that. Your units are great, and your late game is great, but it just, for the current meta at the top level, I feel like English is good, but just too slow. And I'll give you guys examples. Abbasid versus English. Abbasid can probably just be greedy as hell, and English can't really punish it at the high level. Ayubid can just go Fast Castle if English decides to go for 2 Town Center. If they're fighting a feudal, Ayubid will win because of better economy. H-Rate destroys English. Byzantine, in my opinion, destroys English. Jushi China can just rush castle, and English will just be behind. So I feel like, I don't know if it's the meta that is happening right now, because not many civs are actually going for 2TC into normal play. It's more like either 2TC Fast Castle, which other civs can do better, or it's just a straight up Fast Castle and then English is kind of behind and you're just slow because you're infantry based civ, and yeah, it ain't great. I'm considering putting it into like B plus even, because I think Malian is better than English, but yeah, let's keep it here for now. The next civilization that we're gonna be cooking up will be Rus. And I gotta say, Rus feels very clean, and Rus is gonna go up in tier. A plus, very, very good. So Rus is one of the civs that have been using Pro Scouts quite a bit. Another thing that the top players got very, very, very good with is pushing the first tier pack to your TC. Rus can do that really easily because they have 3 fucking scouts. Let's just get a confirmation for that.
3 fucking scouts?
That's right. So Rus can push the deer into the TC, or closer to your base really easily. So it's like, if they do that, they don't need to Pro Scout. They can just rush castle and then go Horse Archers, take the map control, take the relics. And if they can't push the deer, if they have a chance to go Pro Scout, they will go Pro Scouts and then just get all the food under the TC. And overall, it just feels like a very safe civ. And Kremlin is no longer the meta with Rus. It's been Golden Gate for a couple of weeks now. Yeah, I'm enjoying Rus quite a bit, and I think it's quite a good civilization. The next one is going to be Ayubit. Ayubit in tournaments, I would say, is probably like almost maybe an S tier pick, because you can play it on hybrid. Hybrid maps is very good for Ayubit. Water maps are very good for Ayubit. Land maps are very good for Ayubit. So overall, just a solid civ. Love Ayubit. The next one we'll be talking about is my boy HRE, my boy Byzantine, and my boy Abbasid. They haven't changed. You know, they're still very good. And funnily enough, these are the civs that do not go pro scouts at all, or need to push the deer, but their economies are just very, very, very strong, and you can go early farms with them. Byzantine is obviously now on top of Byzantine being Byzantine. We got the Jiggly Turd build. If you lose with it, remember Beastie build if you win with it, which is the fast castle into cataphracts. So Byzantine in a way got like they actually got a nerf last patch, or two, three nerfs, but I feel like they got better because now there's like another style that you can do with Byzantine, so it just kind of opens up more options for you. It makes it more uncomfortable for the opponent. The returning is going to be Delhi, S tier still. I do think that Delhi is noticeably nerfed, and I would even maybe, I kind of CBA, but I would maybe even put Delhi into S- tier. I think it's really good, but the elephant nerf by making bombards actually do damage to elephants makes them, they're still very good, and they're good at all parts of the game, but they're not unkillable in the late game, right? So you can actually kill elephants, and it's not that big of a problem anymore compared to what it used to be, but I still think it's a very, very strong civ, and they can go pro scouts for free, so that's very nice. Now, the last two civs that I have here are the most interesting ones, and I left them last. And I'm gonna have to add a tier under. S-. Now, S-, but I actually think that both of these civs might be S tier. No joke. And that is China and Jushi Legacy. I am not, so I've been playing a couple of days both of these civs, and I've watched some games from people playing these two civs, and they, I think, got the most development out of any civilization in the past month. There's been a complete shift in how these two civs are played. Complete, okay? So, it started with, you know, these two civs started with like Barbican Rush, you know, back in the start of the game. Then we had 1 TC plays. Then we had 2 TC. Both China and Jushi were just played 2 TC or even 3 TC. Then people started castle rushing with both of these civs. Jushi even more so over a longer period of time. People were doing castle rushes, not a big deal. Then people started doing pro scouts into castle rush. Right, so they would pro scout and supervise the mill on both China or Jushi, and then they would pro scout. But now there's like an extra layer on top of that, and what people are now doing is they're actually just making, especially with China, you age up, you get Song, and then you actually just mass units like Baboon. And after a little bit, you go pro scouts. So you don't go pro scouts immediately. You go pro scouts once you have enough units that your opponent cannot deny pro scouts. And then, even if the opponent rushes castle, you can actually just spam Zuginu and kill men-at-arms or knights from castle. And if the opponent stays in feudal, you kind of just end up fighting in feudal, and you have Zuginu, and if you manage to pull it off, you have 4 deer packs, and the opponent will run out of food first. So, it's a very, very interesting development, and the scariest part is these civs can age up faster than other civs. And also because of the supervising 20% resources more drop-off, they actually have a lot more resources to play with. A lot compared to the other civs. Even if they're not opening super economical, they actually have a crap ton of resources to play with. So what ends up happening is sometimes you're fighting and it's like equal fight, you know, nothing's happening. But then Jushi are trying to stop making units for like 30 seconds. They age up, they supervise the upgrades, and then they kill you. And I think supervise is just incredibly strong. The fact that it's like doubling, I think it's doubling, right? The research speed is crazy good. Crazy good. It doesn't leave for much of a timing for your opponent to do much. And I just think both of the civs are super wild. Like super wild. Like the amount of stuff you can do with both of these civs. Again, 1 TC all in, 2 TC, Pro Scouts, Fast Castle, just Fast Castle. Fighting into Pro Scouts. There's so many different things you can do. And I think that's what makes them really strong. And even on open maps, like I'm talking, you know, Dry Arabia, they both feel really strong. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like I honestly think they might even be S tier if I do start playing a lot more, and if I play them a lot more. I think my mind might change that they're even, you know, a level above that. So yeah, there it is. That is the last urgent emergency tier list of 2024. I am your host, Cutie Patootie. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I might be live right now, but I might not be because I'm in South Africa. And if you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.